an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unscrupled, covering Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 6, Episodes 11 and 12. I got that right?
Sure.
Okay. Gone and Doublemeat Palace. In these episodes, we're kind of back at Season 1, Buffy.
A little bit.
Welcome to Unscrupled, guys. I'm gonna say that again. Welcome to Unscrupled. There was a motorcycle passing. Well, howdy there, listeners.
Hi, listeners.
So, you have money.
And you have bitches.
And together we are...
Bitches and money.
So, this is our second week doing the CarCast. And, I want to be upfront with you guys. Like, time management is a thing. We don't know that we're going to stick with this, but last week, I know we sounded like shit because it was fucking raining hard. So, we're going to try... doing it in the car this time, and I'm going to see how good my editing skills are at cleaning this up, so it's actually listenable, and then we will decide going forward if this is something we're going to keep doing. So,
hey, luckily we're in Southern California, and it rains like 3 times a year, and we already did one of them. Yeah. So, there you go.
So, it's probably not going to happen again for a while, but it's, like, I know we were blasé last week about, like, yeah, we're just going to do shit, but that's not what it's about, guys. We're trying to figure out what works, because adjustments are difficult.
It's true.
And adulting is hard.
It is.
Yeah. So, speaking of adulting being hard, let's get into these episodes.
Gone and the Doublemeat Palace.
Right. So Gone is about Buffy turning invisible.
Yeah, it is. Except it's about a lot of stuff. But also simultaneously, like, the most boring episode of the show ever.
Yeah, I was, like, I know asking 2016 money this question about Buffy and how much emotional heft the episode has, because they didn't have a lot back then.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
I mean, like, everything was sort of cutesy, and there was a villain that was solved at the end, and we're not dealing with suicide and dead parents, and growing up too quickly, and drug addiction / magic addiction, and being inadequate to your fiancé.
Yeah.
None of that was there, and very little of it is here, so it gave me a very Season 1 vibe.
Well, they touch on it. Like, I did like that they included going around the house and getting rid of all of Willow's magic stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's totally a thing you have to do with addiction.
Yeah, I've done that for a friend or two.
Yeah.
So, it's just, like, it felt kind of light and fluffy.
Yeah. They tried for a little bit of emotional punch there with Dawn getting upset, but they really didn't push it.
I wasn't buying it, and I felt like in both these episodes, Dawn is just, like, only there to read a line or two.
Yeah. She doesn't really have a lot of place in these other than to be a symbol of that which must be protected.
Right.
Although she does get to be a snotty teenager, and I gotta say, as much as I hate snotty teenagers, it was good to see.
Yeah.
She got to throw a little fit, and she got to be mad at all of the older people in her life, and that's 15. That is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's, you know who's not around?
Who?
Tara.
That's right, she's not.
And I hope she stays gone.
Like, get out while you can, Tara.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, I don't know, Tara just needs to be out of the danger zone. And now that she's no longer with Willow, with very good reason.
Yeah. You want her to get out and live?
I want her to go have a normal-ass relationship with, like, Tara is far too mature for her age.
Yeah.
And I feel like she could pass for someone 25 or 26 and probably date someone that age and have a normal, healthy lesbian relationship with, like, the cats and the potlucks and stuff.
Yeah. She could buy herself a little flannel and maybe a couple new CDs and well, okay, so no, this is still in the time of flannel, so yeah, that she could a couple new peasant tops and she's back in the game.
Also, I think she'd do really well if she was the one partner who had magic and the other one didn't.
It would not be a terrible thing if that was her deal. That was not intrinsic to the relationship.
Because she's got a handle on it. She knows how to control it. She's not as powerful as Willow, so she's like, she's probably a lot more effective with her witchcraft in that she's not brute forcing everything the way Willow is.
Yeah, she's like an average witch, maybe a little above average because she can actually do stuff, and most people are just praying to the goddess, having a bake sale.
I feel like that depends on how you define average, because there's how much energy you have to work with, and Willow's got a fuck ton, but because of that, Willow never learned finesse.
Yeah, she grew too fast.
Right.
And she didn't have a teacher other than, this chick she was banging, who's her age and her skill level.
If only Miss Carpenter had survived.
If only.
That would have been a really good relationship and a really good mentorship.
If only Giles had taken half an interest in teaching Willow the ins and outs of witchcraft.
Right.
Instead of belly aching about, everything.
So, yeah, but Tara's gone, and I hope she stays gone, because this is, like Oz and Riley before her, she's, I don't know, she's better off away from the chaos vortex that is Buffy.
It would just be too easy for her to be collateral damage. Just saying. So, yeah, I miss her. I miss her smile. But, yeah, it's nice to not worry about her. Yeah.
Especially since she never got promoted to main cast, so I've constantly, every time her name showed up, I'm like, is she gonna die this week?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like they were kind of trying in this episode to make some kind of metaphor about being seen and how depression feels like invisibility and stuff, and they kind of made a pig's breakfast out of it a little bit.
Is a pig's breakfast a good thing?
No.
Okay.
No, it slops.
Okay. I've never heard that.
I might have just made that up. I may have mixed my metaphors just a little bit, and I don't care, because this episode doesn't deserve any better. There are episodes I love, and then there are this one.
Yeah.
I didn't like how Buffy became invisible and then just suddenly was a drunk sorority girl about it. I get it, you have freedom, okay, but...
Yeah, that's something teenage Buffy would do, or high school Buffy would do.
She got real mean. She got
gaslighty and abusive, and it was not.
Yeah, it was not a cute look on her at all. And, she just, as Invisible Buffy, she just hurt everyone around her.
So
and
let's
that's not Buffy's gig.
Let's talk about the social services.
Okay, we've got Doris from social services who shows up at the appointed time on Wednesday. Buffy forgot that it was Wednesday, and realizes as the woman's at the door and Dawn's late for school and mentioned being in a car accident, her arm's in a cast, and Spike's in the living room. And that's what Doris walks into. And there's magic shit everywhere.
This felt very Lilo and Stitch to me.
Yeah.
And, I think it worked in Lilo and Stitch in that it's a cartoon.
Okay.
And also, I don't know, there's something about the ridiculousness of this clearly CIA agent who's a social worker, voiced by Ving Rhames of all people.
Being named Cobra Bubbles.
Just added to the comedy of it, and I'm like, I'm not supposed to take this seriously.
Yeah.
But I've actually, like, done my fair share of research in how, like, I'm by no means an expert, but I know a little bit about how social services tends to work, especially in Southern California.
Yeah.
Since the 80s, when the budgets have been just massively cut.
Yeah.
This is I hate saying this, but the fact that Buffy is white and that Dawn is so old makes it very unlikely that Doris would consider removing Dawn or investigating Dawn worth her time and energy.
So, yes.
I'm not saying that she shouldn't say. I'm actually on Doris's side here.
Oh, yeah. Dawn should be removed.
Yeah.
100%. Or Dawn should go live with her father.
But
who's still living.
But it's trying to have this weight of maybe Dawn will be taken away type thing because of Buffy's fuck-ups, and I can't get past how overstretched social services is, and they can't really intervene in any place but the most egregious cases.
Yeah, and this, well, I do think Dawn is, in danger and should be removed. It's not because there's witch stuff around and, some dude in a leather coat.
Right.
It's not because she was in a car accident. It's because Buffy's a slayer and children shouldn't be around slayers.
Yeah.
But all the rest of the stuff, yeah, not grounds for removal.
Right, and let's be real here. Like, having 3 other interested adults assisting, is a big positive thing.
Yeah.
In an assessment.
Social workers in general understand the whole it takes a village thing and are down for that. So long as all the adults in the picture are, reputable on some level.
Plus, the added thing of, if she takes Dawn away, where is she going to go?
Foster care! Yay!
And so she has to find a bed for this, and she's got to come up with the money to pay the foster parents for the bed.
Yep. There's a whole thing about going into the system, because the system is, it's a complicated system.
Right. So what I'm getting at is I just felt really uncomfortable at this scene in particular, painting Doris as the antagonist, because social workers have a lot more important shit to do than nitpick like this. And so we can talk about the ones that suck, and we can talk about how the system is fucked up, but it strains credulity that she would narrow her sights on Buffy of all people.
And honestly, those people should get combat pay.
Right.
They see some shit.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's fair the way they painted social workers. Although I do like that they gave her some legitimate things to be concerned about. Okay, ne'er-do-well looks like, a dangerous fellow. Fine. Possible drugs.
I don't think Spike looks dangerous.
We're so used to him being Spike that, he doesn't look dangerous.
I feel like the British accent would go a long way.
I would not want a 15-year-old girl hanging out in his apartment with him alone.
Okay.
Just saying. Of course, I don't want a 15-year-old girl hanging out with any non-relation alone for very long.
I will go a lot further. I don't want a 15-year-old girl.
Well, who does?
Because teenagers are the worst.
You know why rich people send their kids to boarding school at 13? Because they can!
Okay, that was a little too real.
Yeah, it is.
So...
Sorry.
That's alright. I mean, guys, I did go to boarding school, and it was a military school, so just know that.
Sorry, buddy. You're right. That was a bit real. I forgot it happened then.
Yeah. So, what else is going on? Willow is still kind of, it still feels like she's in the detox stage.
It's only been a couple days.
Yeah.
She is still hardcore in the danger zone. And she is not taking this one day at a time. She's taking it 1 minute at a time.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know 2-3 days at a time was an option, but
yeah, she's trying real hard, and I'm proud of her.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Although just from a writer's perspective, I know this was a thing in the 90s where, we have an addict and they bottom out,
Yeah.
and then they decide to get better, and then they never relapse, right?
Yeah.
So it smacked a little bit of that.
Well, we cover a little bit of that in the next episode.
We do.
So we're going to get there. So yeah, all of this stuff's going on, and Buffy gets mad at herself for being sexually attracted to Spike on any level. And she's overwhelmed by everything, and so she does a thing that's actually true to the character and gets a haircut. Pardon me, guys.
Right.
But yeah, she cuts off all her hair because that's a thing that movie and filmmakers love to make women do in the mirror. And then she goes and gets someone to sort that shit out.
Right.
And frankly, that's a thing I absolutely do. When I feel like my life is out of control, I will 100% get a haircut and a dye.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't do that.
You move all of your furniture around.
I know that, guys. Bitches has nailed it. So what I do when I feel like I need control and the world and my routines need to change is I rearrange furniture. So yeah, I'll swap rooms. I'll just change things up.
Yep.
It didn't really happen at my loft, but that's because it's 3 fucking floors.
And
Swapping 2 rooms is a much bigger deal, especially when you have a 65-inch television and a spiral staircase.
Yes, one of the rooms was only accessible by spiral staircase.
Yes.
I have no idea how you got that couch up there.
Oh, took it apart.
Okay, that makes sense. IKEA couch, guys. Not like a sofa.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot harder to shift your entire life in that place, which might have been good for you.
Well, I did move the middle floor around a couple times.
Yeah.
So.
And you moved your living room around several times, but you couldn't just swap them.
Right.
And that's a thing you do when I can always tell when you're at odds about something because all of a sudden you're moving stuff and complaining about having to move it. I'm like, your other setup was fine. You're like, you don't understand. It's like, oh, that's what's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And meanwhile, I'm over here frantically dyeing my hair blue.
Right.
Yeah. So it's how we cope, and and one of those methods is how Buffy chose to cope. And frankly, I think it's kind of healthy.
Right.
But upon leaving the stylist, she gets hit with an invisibility ray because the trio is full of asshats.
Right.
Who just cock everything up constantly.
I've been referring to them in my head as the 3 chuckle fucks.
Yeah, that's a fantastic name for her.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I don't understand their motivations. They're so bored.
Yeah, pretty much that's it. They're too bored and too smart. They didn't go to college, so they're just fucking around. Oh, wow, they're nerdy hood rats. They're still doing the same bullshit they did in high school. They're just doing it more because they have more time.
I don't think they are.
Okay.
Especially for Jonathan. Jonathan didn't have friends in high school.
Right.
Jonathan didn't get to do mischief.
Okay, that's fair. But he did do one big mischief.
Tried to kill himself?
No. Remember the time he got a magic book and convinced everyone he was a super cool,
That was in college.
Okay.
Or that was after high school.
Okay, you're right. That was after high school. But still, I mean, he's gotten in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. But it's so I've told this war story before about the time that I was driving down the highway in my 1982 Pontiac Bonneville, holding a Roman candle out the window.
Wow. You guys were bored.
Well, I mean, there's something about being a teenage boy and having people, especially if you don't have, like, people who like you who are also your gender and age, and the world tells you that you're supposed to, like, go out and to get into trouble and make stories and, oh my god, that was awesome, and skin your knees and shit.
Yeah.
So, like, you tend to overcompensate and try to get as much of that in.
Okay, that's fair.
So that's where I feel like Jonathan is coming from. I don't get Andrew. I don't get Warren.
Warren is your classic MRA.
Is he?
I think so. I think he's really mad that
girls won't fuck him.
That girls won't fuck him, but also that America won't fuck him. I think, like, he's one of those guys from our generation who was promised that everything would be easy like it was for our parents. And, I mean, our parents didn't know it was easy at the time, but they had no comparison.
Right.
We thought it was going to be easy and the world was just going to hand us, like, guitars and bitches. And then the world didn't. And he's pretty pissed off about that, so he's going to take guitars and bitches.
Okay. Sure.
That's my read on Warren.
I just don't care enough about him to, like, have this.
Oh, yeah, he's, like, a terrible character. Like,
right.
like, the fact that I have to...
I don't think he's terrible, he's just underwritten.
Yeah. I think he might be underacted, too.
That's fair.
Yeah. But, yeah, Jonathan is Jonathan, and Andrew is... I think Andrew just wants to be in a group with other people that understand.
All three of them do. And I don't think they understand each other as well as they think they do. And they're like, but what else have they got?
I feel like if any of the three of them had ever gone to a science fiction convention, none of this would have ever happened.
I don't think science fiction convention would be enough. I think, for me, it was really college. And it was really being around, like, being able to pick and choose things and to learn that you can have interests and, like, have discussions about things you care about, and also not, like, your peers not having any power over you is a big part of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like Jonathan, at least, would do really well in college and be a really, like, learn to be a well-rounded person.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair.
So
I feel like Andrew would, too. I feel like Andrew would find other people that are just as nerdtastic as him and have a really robust tabletop group and maybe get into LARPing or something. And all of his super extra nerdy things with his, you know, collecting of vintage toys and stuff, that's normal in lots of circles. We know because we're kind of in them. Like, you don't come to Unspoiled because you're not into nerdy shit.
Right. It reminds me of that, like, comic. It's like everyone, it just shows in high school, haha, you play Pokemon, and then in college, oh my god, you play Pokemon?
Yes!
So, yeah, Jonathan needs that.
Yeah.
So their plan is to turn themselves invisible so that they can see bikini waxes happening.
Yeah, they do not understand how unappealing that is.
I know. That just, like I'm not speaking just as a mostly gay man. I'm just like, you're ripping hair off sensitive parts. It doesn't seem sexy at all.
It's not. Let me tell you how not sexy the process of any kind of waxing is.
Yeah.
Fellas, ladies, anyone who hasn't tried waxing, not a sexy process. You feel sexy later. Much later. Much later. After the swelling's gone down.
Right.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's like, I don't know. She has a really sexy mouth. I want to watch her brush her teeth, you know? Like,
yeah, it's not how it works, guys. But, you know, they're stupid, so they're going to use their invisibility ray to go look at naked women.
Right, and of course, because of course they do, they get into a fight and accidentally shoot Buffy, a traffic cone, a dumpster, and a tree.
Yeah. So now we've got some invisible shit around, including the Slayer.
Right. Oh, and a fire hydrant.
And you said a fire hydrant. It's okay.
That's a traffic cone.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, that all of this stuff happens, and Buffy decides to go on a little invisibility run to spring up. And the trio kind of slink away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Chuckle Fucks, we've already kind of discussed them. So let's...
Yeah, we've talked about them.
Let's talk Xander and Willow.
Yeah.
So there's not much Anya in this episode.
No, she's just kind of being a little awkward.
Right.
Yeah.
So Buffy goes to the magic shop and talks with Xander and Anya, who are making wedding seating plans.
Xander, upon seeing Buffy's invisibility, leaps to the totally obvious, totally reasonable conclusion that Willow's probably back on the magic again, and this is a thing gone totally wrong. I'm with Xander on this. That's solid. That's a solid assumption to be like, this could totally be Willow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he goes to confront her, and I think that's a solid friend move.
Yeah.
I hate it when I'm on Xander's side, you guys.
I hate it that Xander's the most adult of any of these people.
But it kind of makes sense because he's got the least to work with, so he's kind of got to make it work.
Right. So he goes to see Willow and kind of confronts her, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I haven't done any spells.
Yeah, she was like, I almost moved a book just a minute ago, but I resisted. It was just a little slip. Yeah, she never gets to the part where she explains what her little slip was, and I kind of wanted that.
Right.
But she is like, yo, the fuck? That wasn't me. Why is everyone always thinking it's me? And then Xander points out, it's like, well, the last 3 times it was totally you. And she's like, yeah, but still.
Yeah, she wants them to have a little faith in her.
And frankly, I get why they don't.
Right. I get why they don't too, but I also get that I want you to have faith in me.
Yeah, and that's totally reasonable for her to want, and she's got to earn it. So, yep, they have that confrontation, and I really liked that was included in this episode. It's one of the redeeming things.
Yeah. You know what there isn't in this episode that I felt was kind of missing?
What?
I'm not getting the feeling that Xander and Willow are ancient friends. So it used to be, like, there used to be bringing up a lot of their history and stuff, and, I don't know, the dynamic seems to have faded because Xander's a man now, and Willow's gay and a witch and an addict. So I don't know how I feel about it, you know?
They kind of drifted apart into their relationships.
Yeah.
And you don't see them hanging out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whenever there's, like, movie nights and stuff, Willow's not making a whole lot of effort to be there.
Yeah.
Over the past, like, pretty much as Willow slipped into magic, she kind of moved further and further away from Xander.
Right.
And I kind of feel like their friendship was important for both of them, but Xander's not hurting without her.
Right.
Like, Xander's got his shit together.
God, how did this happen?
I think there's an underlying moral, which I don't know that they intended to put in here, that superpowers make you bad at adulting.
Sure.
And maybe that's what they were trying to say, and maybe that's just the message that I got. But yeah, superpowers make you bad at adulting. That's the message. And also something about feeling invisible because of your depression.
Okay, something just came up for me. Was there a gifted and talented program at your elementary school?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Because I'm now suddenly remembering, like, a lot of the adulting horror stories that veterans of those programs do.
Mm.
So, like, they sort of pick out a bunch of kids who are, like, for which school is super easy.
Yeah.
And I was one of them, at least in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of, like, they label them gifted and talented, and you go once a week to a different class where you do other things. They're supposed to be more challenging, right? Yeah, and it's kind of this feedback thing that, wow, you're so smart, this is so easy for you. Like, it kind of teaches you that you'll be really good at stuff really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard a lot of horror stories on the other side of that when people like me get older and we don't know how to do shit and we freak the fuck out. and we start to question, like, oh my god, are we really smart, or like did they just miscategorize us?
Right. Because anytime anything isn't super easy, you just feel dumb.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm wondering if it's kind of the same feeling where Buffy can kill demons and gods and stop the end of the world a few times over, but she's like, she can't balance her checkbook or get a damn job, and so she feels worthless. Oh my god, this is the worst episode to get super real about, and we've done it twice.
Yeah. And that, because, I mean, who amongst us hasn't been there? Who amongst us hasn't been between jobs and just felt like, because capitalism teaches us that our worth is the money we're bringing in. Like, that is your ultimate worth in capitalism. And if you're not contributing to your household or society in a way that equals money, you are worthless and shouldn't be. And that's some fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Holy crap. How did we get to a point where we are placing all of our value as a human being on how much money we bring into our households? That's so fucking fucked up, guys.
Yeah.
And we've all struggled with this. I was between work, like, jobs for a while, and I would, like, go to the grocery store because I still had money. I had savings. I was okay. I wasn't destitute or, panhandling or knocking over liquor stores. But I felt like the worst human being in the world. I would look at the bag boy and think he's got a job. What the fuck is wrong with me? And, yeah, that's where Buffy is. That's where she's at. She's like, oh my god, I've got all these problems that money could solve, and I don't have any, and I don't know how to get any.
Right.
It's a terrifying place.
So it's time to talk about Buffy's visit to social services. And
Yes.
this really made me feel queasy.
It
There's
was
Buffy gaslighting poor Doris. But,
just gaslighting, but like criminal gaslighting.
yeah, this was fucking evil.
Yeah. Doris didn't deserve that.
Right. Buffy deserves a broken nose for this. And, I see you, writers. This was not cool.
Right.
Because did you notice what was on the mug?
A cow?
A cow.
Yeah.
That is not subtle, and it's not funny. Stop it.
What?
They're calling her a cow.
Oh, I didn't get that from it.
Oh, I certainly got it. She's over 40. She's not conventionally attractive. She's got a PTA mom haircut,
Yeah.
and she's chubby. It's like, yep, cow, haha. No, like that. I was fucking pissed.
That's 100% fair. I didn't pick it up, but I will absolutely give you that one. That mug could have had anything. It could have had an owl. It
Could have had a cat.
could have had a cat. That woman has cats. You know she does.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with having cats.
Nothing wrong with being Doris.
Right.
Doris is,
She's doing the Lord's work, trying to keep kids out of dangerous homes.
that's true. And honestly, if I went into someone's home and there was pot lying in baggies and boxes all strewn around the house, then I might question a few things too. That is not how we keep our drugs around children, people.
Right. So, yeah, and then she steals a meter maid's cart.
Yeah, Buffy has taken this to be her personal purge, and yeah, her next stop is, of course, regrettable sex choices.
Oh yes.
And holy crap, was Buffy not cool with Spike? Oh my god, first she sexually assaults him because he doesn't know who the fuck is touching him. And once she reveals that it's her, he's cool, but that's not if an invisible man did that to a woman, we would have crucified him. It's not okay to do that to anyone.
Yep.
And then the thing
Sexual assault and gaslighting in this episode of Buffy.
Yep. I really don't like who Buffy becomes when no one can see her. And I know that they thought this was fun, and maybe it was fun in the early thousands, but I've always had really weird feelings about this episode because of all the really just epically fucked fucked up shit Buffy does in this.
Right.
And I know that they're trying to explain it away with, oh, I'm free now. I still don't think Buffy would do that. She has too much empathy.
Yeah.
She cares about the people around her.
I just want to give you all a really quick taste of what you get for $1 a month. Strap in, guys. It's an exciting ride.
This is Unspoiled, patrons only, covering
Sharknado.
Jessica Jones,
The Room.
Luke Cage,
Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand.
Firefly, Star Wars, The Force Awakens,
Black Mirror.
The Cabin in the Woods, Sherlock, pretty sure you all know that one. I just gave you 10 reasons. 10 reasons! And that's not even all of them. We covered Ghostbusters. We covered The Avengers. We covered Civil War. We're going to be covering all kinds of stuff in the future for Harry Potter, special episodes on the movies, and on Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and on some of the side story books, and on Cursed Child. There is going to be so much stuff coming up, and it's $1. You guys, for realsies, you should do it. Become a patron. Patreon.com/unspoiled.
Alright. We also, there's Willow. We have Willow actually doing old school detective work by getting on a computer and hacking into the DMV.
And she still can.
Right.
Temptations are everywhere. She's fighting them. I like seeing that.
I really felt for her when
Yeah.
she's out there getting paint scrapings and doing things the old-fashioned way, the hard way, because she
Slowly.
can't take shortcuts,
Yeah.
and processing that this is forever.
Yeah, this is what life is now. You have to do things on slow.
Right.
Sorry, sweetie. I know it's a bummer.
And then she gets kidnapped, which I totally forgot until just this moment.
Oh, wait, she gets kidnapped her? Oh,
She finds their house. She sees the board, and I don't really think the arcade scene requires any more talking. Because
they go to an arcade. Everyone gets visible again.
Yeah.
There is a contrived scuffle.
Right. Yeah. So, there we go.
Okay.
That's our episode.
I do like that they had a sideways shout out to the other time someone became spontaneously invisible in this show back in season 1. Does anyone remember that girl? No, because she was designed to be unforgettable. Okay. But it was Clea Duvall, who is a great actress, and it was a bummer that she was invisible that whole episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we never found out what happened to her.
Nope.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. And
On to the Doublemeat Palace.
On to the Doublemeat Palace.
How did you feel about this one?
I don't know. It felt kind of like, I've mentioned this, cannibalism is one of my spick things.
Yeah. It squicks most people.
And as I've gotten older, I've realized I don't really have a problem with cannibalism in a horror setting. What I have a problem with is when it's done for comedy or being blasé.
Like when people are tricked into cannibalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when it's people just sitting around cracking jokes and we're supposed to laugh with them.
Yeah. Okay, I feel you.
So.
I don't. Okay. I semi-feel you.
Because, like, when I'm going into horror, like, they're expecting me to be grossed out by this.
Right.
But
So
when
you've
I'm going...
kind of signed that social contract that says, I'm gonna get grossed out. I accept that.
Or, like, I'm looking at something with disdain.
Right.
But when I'm supposed to think, ha, you stinker, you're eating a human being, like, that I feel super uncomfortable with. And I mentioned it on our Rocky Horror coverage, but that's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what happens with the Doublemeat Palace is that Buffy gets a job.
Yeah.
And she gets the job that's easiest to get for, a 20-year-old with no office skills, and that's fast food. So she gets that job, and I was really impressed with how true they were to what it is like to start working at one of these big name box stores. Like, anything that has over 100 locations has that training video that you take in the back room that is the worst, and has the awful uniform that you don't know where the hell it came from. And Buffy's actually fit, which I have never had one of those uniforms do. They have always been the only shirt they have to give me is an extra large, and I am a tiny human being.
Also, like, they give you one.
They give you one.
Even though you're supposed to, like, stop a shift and then 8 hours later start another one.
Yep.
So you're just supposed to wash your clothes every day. I never got to.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah, they give you one. You're supposed to wash it a lot. If you're taking this job, you're usually in an apartment complex that has a coin-operated laundry. And, yeah, something like half a day of pay is going into laundry.
Right. So, like, we're kind of running short on time, so I think we should sort of speed this up.
Okay.
So, let's discuss the restaurant stuff first.
Okay. Go for it.
Right. So, she's there, like, Manny the manager, makes some overtures that there's a high turnover. He gives her a locker, and she meets Gary, who's, like, showing her the ropes, and who's a super cool guy. Right?
Yeah. He's a regular fellow.
And then Gary gets eaten in the alley afterward.
And that's a bummer. But
Right.
you do get a clue from that he knows his assailant.
Yeah. So, yeah, he says, "What are you doing here?" Which is kind of like, so I knew he wasn't being fed to werewolves.
Yeah. Though you suspected it first.
Yeah, I thought it was Oz.
That was so funny. There was, like, nothing I could say to it. It was like, it caught me so off guard. It's like, I'm just gonna tell him to keep watching the movie. Yeah.
Right. And, yeah, so... she goes through the training. I rightfully pointed out that on food service like this, it's a while before they trust you on the register. Because you need to... part of the training process is you have to be putting the food together, so you need to know how the food is made. So, and the register is the end of that process where you can look at something and say, "Oh, that's what this is," and I can charge them for it. Right?
Yeah. Like, what gets 2 patties and what gets?
Because I worked at Quiznos at the time, and they really just threw me in the fucking deep end. So I'm going to talk about this.
Okay.
We had it was the basing station, and that's where you cut the bread. You got to memorize which of the 5 types of bread each sandwich has, and then you put the sauce on. And the sauce is, like, at Quiznos, is a fucking nightmare.
Okay.
There's like 15 of them,
Yes,
and you need to know, and you don't fucking have time to look it up because they have this little chart that's tiny. It's just a regular piece of paper that's been laminated that tells you what sauces go on it. So, which is why at the time I really wished I worked at Subway, because you could just ask people what they wanted.
Yeah.
So, and then you put the veggies on, and then the next person puts the meat on, and they need to know a little more because they need to know, like, what's already gone on, and then it goes in the toaster, and then at the other end like, I think is the easiest job, where they just put the lettuce on. But then there's also the tricks, like you need to know, oh, this is an au jus. I need to get some jus out of the coffee pot, and then finally there's a register.
Right.
So
A whole process.
right,
And yeah,
but you have to be good. You like if you're working the second to last station, you need to be able to look at something and say, okay, this sandwich has lettuce, and it has guacamole.
Right.
So, and you have to know that right the fuck there.
and be able to identify the sandwich by what's already on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an art.
Especially if you've never fucking eaten at a Quiznos before, it's fucking terrifying. So it was a very trial by fire. And after I worked there for about 4 months, and I knew everything this way and that's when I started working the register.
Okay, so I've worked in multiple chains of things, and I've had a very different experience. When I worked at Starbucks, I was on the register the first day I was out of training, actually. I was on the register because knowing how to do drinks and work the espresso machine and the frappuccinos and all of those, it was a whole thing, and they gave you a little bit extra time to learn the recipes and get trained like hardcore on that before they threw you into manning the bar, because that's the high stress point in a Starbucks. It's manning that bar because you've got a lot of things coming at you. But manning the register is super easy because you're just dealing with one thing at a time. You don't have to multitask. You're writing on a cup, you're putting a cup, you're bringing someone up. It's easy in comparison. So yeah, the first thing I ever did was work the register. Later on, I got the bar, and at various stores I've worked at. I started on the floor, but register was pretty easy. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something that was like special.
Right.
In fact, I kind of groaned whenever they put me up on the register because the floor was more fun.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like it might be a little different at Starbucks in that I don't think you're really answering a whole lot of questions. Because when you're at the register and someone's like, what goes on that? You have to be able to have an answer.
When someone asks you what goes in a venti caramel macchiato, you got to know the answer.
I guess so. Okay.
And when someone asks you, so the low-fat frappuccino, how many calories is that? And the only answer you have off the top of your head is half as much as a regular frappuccino. They're like, but I need to know how many because it's my diet. It's like, I don't know. Wait, let me go find the laminated chart because we have those too.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back and find it. And it's probably somewhere stupid because your manager put it away wrong.
Right.
Yep.
But moving ahead,
she
finds a finger under the meat grinder.
Which, ew.
Also, they don't grind the meat at fast food.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
So, everyone seems to be in a daze, probably because they've been having, like, that paralysis in the air, that paralysis poison.
Yeah.
So...
Probably, actually. You're right. That stuff that she keeps spraying is probably...
Yeah, just ambient in the air.
A little bit.
Right, and she has her Soylent Green is people moment. She gets her ass fired. And she goes back and finds Manny's been eaten.
Yes, he has. But she also swipes a burger to give to Willow for analysis.
Right.
Because Willow's back to science mode, apparently.
Yeah.
And now knows how to figure out the chemical content of meat.
Like, let's be real here. Like, with Willow's loss of everything, and... I've been in that position before where you need to be doing something that you are good at.
Okay.
That is part of the therapy.
So the only issue I have with it is that, yes, I accept that Willow is good at hacking. I do not accept that Willow is a world-class chemist.
Sure. Although, like, if I remember back to high school AP biology, I could identify cellulose.
Okay.
So,
I didn't have...
I could differentiate cellulose from animal proteins.
I did not have as good an education as you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Let's face it, my school still had textbooks from when my father was there.
So, yeah, it turns out it's not people. It's plant matter mixed with beef tallow.
Yeah, which... Touché. So we kind of had this happen to us once.
Oh, yes. Hi, Lizzie, if you're listening. For years, this woman was serving buffalo chicken sandwiches, and one day I'm like, this isn't real chicken, is it? This is that Morningstar Farm stuff. And she just nods and gives me that little wink. And, like, it was fine. Like,
she also put it in euros, and it was freaking amazing, guys. Like, yeah. I could tell that it wasn't chicken, but I wasn't questioning because it was so freaking good.
I miss her pasta salad. And I'm like, one day I'm like, what's the dressing here? And she's like, it's just, it's the pasta. And then it's basil, olive oil, and rock salt. And then sun-dried tomatoes. It was really good. Yeah.
She had the only food cart I've ever seen that sold actual food.
It was right under the window in my office, too. So I could smell whatever the fuck she was cooking every day.
God, I miss her. She was so nice.
I know. We should look her up on Facebook and say, hey.
Yeah, we should. But anyway. Yeah, let's.
She goes back to the place. She finds Manny's foot, and she's attacked by a demon.
Yep. And for once, Willow gets to save the day.
Yeah.
Without magic. It was a good moment for her.
Yeah. Let's talk about Willow. So, Amy visits.
Amy fucking sucks so hard in this episode. I'm so mad at her.
Yeah, I don't feel like the show has earned Amy being so shitty.
Amy wasn't exactly great in high school all the time.
Yeah, but it hasn't shown us what Amy did in high school.
This is true. While I don't think the show has earned Amy being quite this shitty, that is totally something that I have seen friends of addicts who are still in the life do.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Like, I have seen the thing where it's like, oh, it's hard, right? Well, I'm just gonna leave, here's a teenth, just a little bit to get, if you feel like it's too much to handle. They think they're doing you a solid because they know that when they don't have drugs, they want to kill themselves. And they don't want you to die, so they're just going to give you a little escape hatch, except it's the exact wrong thing to do.
Right. But that's not my problem with it. My problem with it is we have not seen Amy, right?
Right.
We don't have... Amy is effectively still a teenager.
Yes.
She is still in high school. She has never been in a position to have enough autonomy to get into whatever the fuck his name's type shit is, and to learn that she needs to steal spices from friends,
Yeah.
So that's what doesn't seem earned to me.
Yeah,
I fully accept that Amy could be incredibly shitty. But it feels a little more real if they'd run into that goth kid that they made a coven with.
Right.
And he's had a couple of years to become a shitty person. And we could totally watch Amy go right the fuck over the cliff. That would make a lot more sense. So.
Yeah. They did some sloppy work.
I don't know what she did to her. Like, she shot her with some electricity and her eyes turned, was she high? I don't.
Yeah, she did that thing that. So. They changed the rules of magic when they decided to make magic pleasurable. Mm-hmm. And I think this is kind of, using that as an excuse to make any time you're full of power feel really awesome. Mm-hmm. That has not been how magic worked traditionally in this universe, and they're just kind of writing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's weird, and I don't get it either. I think what they're trying to do is just say, Amy did a powerful spell and gave the high to Willow, and that also fills Willow with some, fucked up magic that does random shit. So now anything she touches turns to spell. Random spell. And if you're really into the magic life, that could be super fun, just going around making stuff weird. But if you're trying to get clean, that's fucking inconsiderate.
Right.
Can't even use a goddamn pencil. Fuck.
So yeah, that's all I really... Well, I would like to see Amy return and, let's just lean into it. Okay, we've decided she's shitty. I want to see what kind of fucked up shit she gets into. Like, what kind of problem does she become for the Scooby Gang? And not, like, in an evil way, but what kind of shit this, you know how Harmony kind of shows up wherever there's another thing that the Scooby Gang's dealing with?
Yeah.
It's kind of, like, I would kind of like to see that out of Amy, too.
Okay. Do you think we're going to get that?
Probably. I mean, they've laid the groundwork. They brought her back for a reason.
Okay.
Yeah. So finally, the final plot point was my favorite plot point, which was the visit of what's her name? The demon?
Oh, Halford?
Halfrick.
Yeah.
That I really liked that, where like, and they scream and giggle and like have to catch up because they used to work together as vengeance demons.
Yeah.
And she's so used to like being summoned to deal with terrible people, terrible men, that she's almost curses Xander.
Yeah, she's totally on autopilot and just, like, ready to send Xander to a nether realm, and Anya walks in and she's like, oh, hey, what do you want me to do to this terrible man? And she's like, Hofrug, it's me, Anyuka. Oh my god. Yeah. They have that whole moment, and it's real sweet.
Yeah.
But what I want to know is, how did you feel about Xander being weirded out by how ugly vengeance demons are to human eyes?
I mean, I don't know how to feel. I mean, she's...
You just don't care.
No, that's not it. It's, like... What are you expecting out of Xander? Like, we know who Xander is.
That's fair.
And I feel like...
It's like, yeah, he's going to be weirded out. He'd probably also be weirded out if you had, plastic surgery.
I feel like Anyanka knows enough that she would be okay with him being weirded out. Although I did like the banter of like, I'm not going to answer that because there's no right answer here.
Yes.
That's...
I seriously, I picked that up from this episode all those years ago and have been using it ever since.
Right.
Like, I say it to girlfriend probably at least a couple times a month. It's like, there's no right answer for me here.
But it's the really interesting part is Anyanka spent 1,000 years punishing men. And so her friend is like, oh, how does he treat you? And she's totally honest about it. And she's like, oh, really? Mm-hmm. That's what's going on here. So...
Yeah. He tells me how to act and, what to do.
And, yeah, I think, like... Were Anya not so desperate to fit in and feel like normal? Mm-hmm. Because she had a normal when she was a vengeance demon. She was a vengeance demon.
Yeah.
She had friends. She had relationships. She had
people who understood her as a being. She did not have Olaf.
She had the story of Olaf, which
yes.
I think was important to her development.
It was.
Yeah. So... Yeah, and so, like, and I totally agree with her, because, like, okay, you're human now, but you didn't put up with this shit when you were a vengeance demon.
Well, she didn't have to, and to be fair to Xander, he really is trying to help her fit in with her new life. And he's trying to be as gentle as possible with someone who is as, emotionally clueless as she is. Like, I honestly think Xander's kind of doing the best job possible with that whole thing.
There's no winning when you're dating a former vengeance demon who has not had to put up with a man's shit for 1,000 years.
This is true.
So part of me wonders if Anya is going to try and get back into the vengeance demoning thing.
Huh.
And I am all for it.
Okay.
One, like, I kind of don't care if they break up, because, like I said, I've never really sold on this relationship. It just feels like something for Xander to do.
Well, he needs to have someone because everyone else has someone, or is wrapped up in their own drama.
But also, I'm kind of here for Xander being married to a vengeance demon, and them having, like, the sitcom stuff. Where you been? Oh, I was cursing a man to make his testicles fall off and turn into cherries.
It's like, oh,
do you think that's good? It's like, this is my job, honey. I don't criticize the way you build houses. Even though you should totally put the light switch outside the bathroom.
That's...
See, I'm here for this!
You're right, that would be a fun show. And, like, she gets into scrapes and he has to bail her out, or he gets into scrapes and then, you know, they have kids and, like, what's that going to look like?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. That would be super fun.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if we'll get it.
Those are our episodes. Yeah, I don't care about the A-plot, the cannibalism thing. It's just, it was predictable and not that interesting, and it just felt like the show has regressed a lot, especially in this episode.
These 2 episodes, I think, are some of the weakest in the entire series.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. I do have some love for the Doublemeat Palace in that it perfectly captures the hopelessness of minimum wage work. You really do feel like you're covered in whatever you're selling all the time. When I worked at Starbucks, there was not a moment I did not smell like coffee the entire time I worked there.
No, thank God you don't work there now, because like with all the new special drinks they have.
Oh yeah.
There's like, I've read a lot of the online complaints. There is blue glitter in my lungs forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We're getting to a point where we might have to abolish glitter, you guys. And as a gay person, it hurts my soul. But it's kind of an environmental travesty, and we got to think about that.
Right.
But yeah, I really that whole thing that the grill guy was talking about is like, yep, the grease gets in your hair and on your nose hairs and in your ears. And doctors pull it out of your orifices, and yeah, that's a thing, guys. If you haven't worked in food service, you don't know how bad it gets.
Hey guys, sorry, I'm pulling over because there's a ambulance trying to pass. And
Apparently, we're the only one in the world that still does it. We're gonna let them go past because this is our neighborhood and these are people. Look at at least one other person that has a story. Okay.
just trying to pass it. So,
Yep. So, yeah. Alright. Okay. Also, if you're a fan of Unspoiled, you should probably pull over to the side when emergency vehicles are trying to pass. I'm just saying. It's a good thing to do.
That was
so
an
those are our
Unspoiled
episodes,
Network
guys.
podcast.
I'm going to apologize. I know since we've been back, we haven't read patrons or new reviews. We will catch up at some point, and again, I'm sorry about all the chaos in our lives that's just making doing this difficult, but we want to do it. We miss doing it. We're trying to find a way that it works. So.
Yep. So much has changed over the past 3 months, it's not even funny.
It's fucking crazy, guys. So, yeah, but we're still here. We're still bitches and money.
That's right.
So, at some point at work, we're going to have to, do our bitches and money intro, because people are just not going to believe that it's a thing until they do.
Well, the people that do believe us are looking for the
Let's
podcast, which is terrifying.
Who the fuck are you?
Bitches. Who the fuck are you?
I'm Money, and together we are...
Bitches and money. Fuck you. Why?
In this episode, our colleagues don't mind their fucking business.
It's true.
So we gonna talk shit about them.
Yes.
On the airwaves.
Yeah. That's right, Jimmy.
Because our job is saying things on the internet so that people laugh later.
It's true.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, we are almost home. It's been fun. I hope I can make the sound quality of this episode better, because I would really love for this to work out, that we could do our podcasting in this nasty ass commute, but yeah. I don't know that it will. So we'll see you next week. With we still have a minute. Do you want to? No, we don't have time to fire it up.
Yeah.
So I'll make predictions later. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.